And then I found out what throwing up pure bile looks like, which was exciting. I talked to the nurse about it, and I got the whole story of what's going on. Because did you know that when you throw up pure bile, it's actually black? I thought bile was like green, yellow. No, it's actually stomach acid. So I was lying there, and the nurse came in. She was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I was like, "Well, I feel like I'm gonna throw up." And they're like, "Oh, do you want something to like be anti-nausea?" And I was like, "I can take stuff for anti-nausea." And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's ordered for you." Which I knew that before. So she goes and gets the anti-nausea stuff, and it comes over, and she's about to put it in the machine, in the IV machine, and I start throwing up again. And yeah, it was black, like it was gross. But she said it was actually dark green. I mean, like pretty black. It just, I felt like I was like a zombie or something. Like I was like, oh god, if someone saw me, they'd be like, oh, Lori, zombie Laura. And so it's black. It's really gross. And so this is how it works. So your liver, your liver is what creates bile. The food goes into your stomach, and your stomach uses the stomach acid and stuff to break down the food, and then it goes down and passes by your liver, and your liver is what creates bile, and that helps the digestive tract. And so it sends some bile with the food down your intestines, and your gallbladder hangs out there, and all it does is it actually just holds the bile that the liver makes, and it releases it too, and then the bile and the stomach acid and everything. It works with the intestines and digests your food, and it works funky, hunky-dory like that. But because my intestines were shut down thanks to my appendix, there was nothing going on in the intestines, so the liver was like being a good little liver and creating bile and sending it down the tract, and the gallbladder was like being a happy little gallbladder holding on to my bile, and and they just kind of like sent the bile back and forth, and then it kind of just like started to build up in that little part of my intestines. And so the way that food goes down your stomach is it has this little like opening thing, and it kind of just goes like that, and that's what pumps the food out of your stomach into your intestines. Now, even though there's no food in my stomach, it still does that. And what happens was that the bile was starting to like backtrack and go back into my stomach. But your stomach doesn't like bile, and so the stomach acid and the bile are kind of like mixed together. And then I threw it up because my stomach doesn't like bile, and it's black, which was crazy. Yeah, kind of gross. And then they gave me anti-nausea stuff, and then I threw up like a whole bunch more, and that carried on for the weekend. I was throwing up, and like I had a couple people, and they're like, "Oh, I hope you have stuff to keep you busy while you're in the hospital." And I was like, "Well, I'm pretty preoccupied with like throwing up, crying, and sleeping, so I don't really have a lot of time to do stuff." Which is true. That is actually how I spent all day and all night for like 5 days. And then they changed my saline solution because they're like, "Oh, you still can't eat. We're going to give you more than just the salt water. We're going to give you ones that has like protein in it and like potassium, I guess." And so they changed it, which is cool because then my vomit, instead of tasting like salt water, it started to taste like lemon lime, which is kind of nice. So it was kind of weird, right? Because I'd be like lying there, kind of this weird lump, unable to move, and my mom would be reading to me, and I'd like be crying or sleeping or something, and all of a sudden I'd kind of be like, "Oh, lemon," and then just like throw up. So it was interesting because I'd always have like a precursor, like that's how I'd know I was gonna throw up, because it's kind of like I felt like I was gonna throw up all day and all night, so you never really knew when I was actually gonna throw up until I started to taste lemon lime, and then I would throw up. And for a while I was foaming too, just like foaming at the mouth. Like it looked like I had rabies. Like I'd be sitting there, like, just like foaming into a bucket. Like I felt like one of those foamy soap dispensers. It's like, it's kind of gross. So Monday comes. Oh yeah, and they're talking about how they wanted to put a PICC line in me, and we're like, that's scary. We don't know what this terminology is, and they're like, "Oh yeah, PICC line. It's better than an IV because the antibiotics actually burn your blood veins. So it'll hurt. Just staying on a normal IV will hurt you and your veins. So we're going to put a tube through one of your veins to your heart so your veins don't hurt. And you can put antibiotics in and take blood out so you don't have to get poked." And I was like, "That's cool. I hate being poked." And they were saying that they hope it could happen on like Monday, which is also when I was going to get the CAT scan. And they're like, "Yeah, so hopefully, you only get poked or you know, every day we have to take blood until you have to get the PICC line, and then you won't get poked again. I was like, sweet, that's a good idea. I hate being poked and all that ridiculous stuff like missing the vein and hitting the nerve. Good times on the IV. Then it came time to get the CAT scan, and like another surgeon comes in and he's like, oh, no big deal, you know, and I'm like sitting there cradling my teddy bear, and he's like wearing his Canucks jersey here, and Agumon also has his Canucks jersey, and there's like Luongo and Sedin. So yeah, I'm cradling the teddy bear, and then the surgeon comes in and he's like, you know, a CAT scan's no more radiation than taking an airplane from Vancouver to Ottawa. And I was like, you know, I guess that's supposed to make me less afraid of CAT scans, but really that just makes me more afraid of airplanes, because I didn't know you could get radiation from riding a plane. But according to this surgeon, you can. So that's not super great. 40 x-rays, 1 airplane ride? Not so great. No, glad I drove it. Anyway, so Monday comes and they take me to get the CAT scan, and they look at the IV in my hand, and they're like, oh, that IV is really small. And I was like, yeah, it's because I have small veins, and it's in my hand. And they're like, oh, well, for the CAT scan, we need to feed blue dye into your body. It needs to go through a bigger IV. I was like, wish I had that PICC line that you guys said I'd get today. So instead, they shove another IV in my arm here, and they found the vein, which was good. By this point, I still couldn't really move this arm, because still fucked up from when they hit the nerve, so it was kind of like I couldn't really move this arm. The problem with, you know, the IV is that I have the small one because I have small veins, and so they take a big one and shove it in a small vein. So it really hurt a lot, and then I couldn't use this arm, and so I couldn't use this arm, I couldn't use this arm, so it's pretty useless there. I couldn't even hold my own vomit bucket. I was trying to like cradle it like awkwardly, it didn't really work. So they take me to go and get the CAT scan, and my mom was like just arriving, and I was sitting on the stretcher, and I thought I was going to throw up again, so I had my like vomit bowl there, and the IV in this arm, and the IV in this hand, and I, instead of throwing it, like, I just felt like I was going to throw up, and it was kind of like a, and then I ended up accidentally hyperventilating again. Maybe I was afraid of the CAT scan. I don't know, I started hyperventilating again. So my arms went numb, and I was holding to the bucket, so they kind of went numb holding to the bucket, and apparently, like, I don't know about if this is normal, if it's just me, but, so when I started hyperventilating, and my hands was all feeling, the fingers all curl up into, like, a kind of, like, thing like this. There's something really weird when my thumb gets all, like, tucked under it, and so, and I went from holding the bucket to, like, having these, like, crippled little hands, and I couldn't move them, and I couldn't really do anything in the bucket. It was, like, starting to tip and fall off my arms. I was like, Mom, I need you to fix the bucket. I can't use my arms. Just kind of lame. So then they take me down to get the CAT scan. They bring me into the room, and they lie me down, and I was like, I don't care what you say. I want a lead everything that's not going to be scanned. And they're like, well, because we need to see what's going on, we're going to scan everything, but we can, like, put a lead thing over your neck. I was like, okay. So they lay me down, and there's this big, like, triangular pillow behind me. I had my arms up, and then they put, like, a lead thing, like, around my arms and around my neck, and then around my arms again. And I just kind of, like, lay there, and it turns out they did 3 CAT scans at once, which I don't remember being part of the deal, but he's like, yeah, when you do 2 tests and then the real thing. So it's 40, 60, what is it, 120 times x-rays? Like, I don't like those odds. And then they put me in, and they're like, don't look at the laser, and everyone runs out of the room, and I was like, oh, great, at least I'm still in the room. So, and they do 1 scan, and then they pull me back out, and then it goes in again, and do another scan. It's like a big oval thing, like a bed, and the bed, like, rolls in, and it's really scary. And then he's like, okay, now we're gonna put the dye into your body. So I had to lift my arm up into the air, and he hooked it up, and he's like, so the dye, it sometimes it hurts going in, and you're going to probably taste metal, and it's gonna feel like you just went to the washroom. on the bed. And I was like, oh great, okay. So he puts the dye in, and it felt like molten lead traveling down my veins, or like solid lead even. Like it was hard, and it hurt, and I could feel it going in all, like, the whole vein. It hurts so much, like, and I was like, this hurts. And then I started tasting metal, and I was like, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, like, I swear to God, I, like, peed everywhere. I swear that I did. And then they put me in the scan again, and they put me back out, and he's like, all done. And I was like, I know you said that it would feel like I went to the washroom, but this time, I think I actually did. My stomach when I didn't, so it was good, I guess. And then they went upstairs, and I went to the nurse, and I was like, I need you to get this IV out because it hurts. And she was like, oh no, we should leave it in case they do another CAT scan. I was like, I don't think so. They did one CAT scan times 3 fucking CAT scans. They don't need to do another one.